Let's rise and the pledge of the flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My country is of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of thy pilgrims pride, from every mountain side, let freedom ring. Okay, friends. Everybody, all of our members have looked at our minutes. They're all on the table. If everybody is good with these minutes, can we get a motion to accept them?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as I have.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we won't bother with our treasury report. We're going to have some pictures taken later on after Jasmine does our demonstration. And also we have a presentation, a couple presentations here to do. We'll do later on also. So we'll just get right to the demonstration.
Hi everyone, my name is Kathleen and I work at Leader Dog for the Blind, and this is Jasmine, and Jasmine's kind of one of our ambassador dogs. So she's here to show you a little bit about a leader dog. So hopefully she will stay. Good girl. So Leader Dogs for the Blind every year gives away almost 200 dogs. So this is our class photo. Sorry, I might have to get here a little bit. For 2014. So these are all the dogs. Are you looking for
You already
buddies?
graduated.
Looking for buddies? Yeah. That we gave away to people. So yes, they're adorable, amazing dogs. It's also amazing that we actually need about twice that many dogs to be able to do this, to give away this many. But never ever forget that there is a person with this dog. And there's really even a ripple effect to what we as Lions do for these people, because not only can they be more independent, but their families can relax more now. There's just all sorts of ripple effects. And when I get back to the people, but it's not magic. It doesn't just happen overnight. It's a pretty involved process. And so we actually we now have our own dogs. So we use shepherds, or German shepherds, Labrador retrievers, so black labs, yellow labs, chocolate labs, Jasmine sit down, and golden retrievers, which is what Jasmine is. And we have about 100 dogs in our breeding county. So their entire job is to have puppies for leader dog. So when the female goes into heat, they bring her to campus. We call up one of the lucky males that we decide is going to have the best blend of what we need for the next group of dogs to come over. They have a little honeymoon. Usually they hang around our campus for about 2 weeks. And then the mom dog goes back to the volunteer it lives with. Dad dog goes back to the volunteer it lives with. And about 2 months later, the puppies are born. They're usually born in the host home, though we do have the capacity to do cesarean sections if that's needed. We need about 55 puppies born every month to be able to keep up with our pace there. So
Every month?
55 every month. So we had a cesarean this week. Most of the time they are, I haven't heard, sometimes you have to kind of work with Mother Nature, you know. Our average litter is about 6 puppies. Sometimes they're 9, sometimes they're 3, sometimes there's 1. So we just keep doing that. when the puppies are born, immediately we start doing some things to stimulate their intelligence and help develop them into the best possible leader dog. So we will do some massaging. We'll also start playing music. We'll start banging pots and pans, running the vacuum cleaner, because a big part of a leader dog's job is to guide someone around. Of course, that's a big part, but also a big part of their job is to do exactly what Jasmine's doing right now, absolutely nothing. So we need a dog that can work in a really busy environment and then settle really quickly in an environment like this. So the more we can expose that dog from the very early ages, especially those first 6 months to a year when they're really just sponges, the more we can put out, have a quality product, if you will, at the end of that year. So the host home does all kinds of things to start doing it. At about 3 weeks old, a dog can start eating solid food. Kind of weans off of its mom. And when it starts eating solid food and even having solid at the other end, after the food, we start even doing some things to let that dog know we're all about positive reinforcement. We want to ignore anything that isn't correct behavior and praise and reward everything that is the right behavior. So if we want that puppy to learn to sit and we're feeding it its meals anyways, we're going to hold on to the bowl of food until that puppy accidentally sits down on its butt. Kind of gets so excited and all, it sits down and we go, good sit, good job. Put the food down. And at 7 or 8 weeks old, that puppy already knows how to sit. And knows that, starts thinking about, they want me to do something, what am I going to try here? And so at about 7 or 8 weeks, when it's old enough to leave its mom, comes back to Leader Dog Campus. We have 2 full-time vets and several vet techs on our staff. First thing they're going to do is check that puppy out, make sure it's really healthy. We're all about really giving a healthy dog to the person. Because when that dog goes through the training, when that person and that dog bond, they want that dog to be able to work for them for years and years and years. So we want to make sure we're breeding as much as possible towards a healthy dog, a dog that isn't going to have hip dysplasia, or we're also taking them out of the equation if they have too many allergies, too much hip problems, or whatever. Usually we can't quite tell too much at a 2-month-old. There's a lot of things they're going to kind of outgrow. The end of those 2 months, then we do something really unusual. We kind of give away the puppies. Well, sort of give away. We loan them out. So we have volunteers, we call them puppy raisers, who come to Leader Dog, pick up this adorable 2-month-old puppy that isn't housebroken yet, and take it home for the first year. And what they're going to do is teach it basic obedience and all sorts of things to also develop it to be a future leader dog. So everything from, Jasmine isn't too good at this yet, or because she's out of practice, but walking real calmly on the leash, not pulling off in 17 different directions. Of course the person can't have a dog that pulls all the time. It would be really tough. So at a very beginning age, we start with those puppies, and they're just like wandering around on that leash, and as soon as they start to pull a little bit towards something, the puppy raiser's going to stop. So if you can think, just something as simple as getting from your car to here into this building can take 10 or 15 minutes. That's the kind of commitment that those volunteer puppy raisers. They also start getting it used to what we call harness work. So this is the puppy bandana. There's also kind of like a blue, we call it a jacket or a cape that goes on that says Leader Dog for the Blind or Future Leader Dog for the Blind. That starts teaching the dog that when I'm out in public and I'm wearing my bandana or my cape, there are certain things that certain dog things that I can't do anymore. I can't run up to everybody, I can't bark, I can't jump on people. What they want me to do is walk quietly next to them and not be startled by different noises. walk on any surface. You know, this is a tile floor, that's okay. You know, you want them to get used to how the tile feels. Sometimes there's an open grate, sometimes there's a manhole. What's the sidewalk like? What's stones? What's grass? Everything that we can teach that dog to be exposed to, the better off it is. And we want it to go along. So every time it takes on something new and different, let's say these strings were hanging even longer and they would brush up against a dog. That might startle some dogs. They work their way through, a little treat comes out of the pocket, good job. Good job. Usually what we'll do is as soon as they do something right, we'll say yes and follow it with the treat. Because even waiting those few minutes it takes to dig a treat out of your pocket and give it could send a mixed message to the dog about what you want. So every time they do something right, yes. When they start pulling or they balk at that or they don't know what to do, we don't say anything. We'll sometimes circle them around, bring them back, do that. For a whole year, this volunteer takes this puppy everywhere with them and works on training. We even offer training groups either in their community or Leader Dog every other month offers like 8-hour trainings for how to raise your puppy to be that. The first about 3 months that you have a puppy in your home, you get an email every week that says your puppy's now 10 weeks old. This is what it should be doing at 10 weeks. This is how you can do it. This is how they're learning. It's all the developmental things, all building for that super, super quality leader dog. At the end of the year, the puppy raiser has to say goodbye. Hardest thing in the world, especially because this dog has been everywhere with you. You got to name it, you got to take it everywhere, it's been a part of your family, now you're giving it back to Leader Dog. But for most people, that's why they did it. Doesn't mean it's any easier to give it back, but they did it to make a difference in someone's life. Then the dog starts the formal training. And the formal training is going to take about 4 to 6 months at Leader Dog. And the first thing they're going to start with is this. This is the harness or the handle that the person uses. And for a leader dog, this is like their uniform. They know when they're wearing this that that they're on duty and they have to act like a dog. I'm sorry, like a leader dog. When I first started working at Leader Dog, I thought these were the most boring dogs because I only saw them in harness. And I thought, man, how do they breed out personality? Because those dogs were just spot on, always staying, paying attention to their person. Well, then I started realizing when the harness comes off, they are just like any other dog. They'll run around, they'll stay right here. If I told Jasmine she could go visit all of you, she would be up. For Jasmine, she kind of knows yes. She said, oh, you said I could get up and play? So one of the first things you want them to learn is just even to be in the harness and come when they're called to the harness. So she knows, good job. Jasmine has not done a demonstration probably for a year, so this is amazing. I'm not even sure this is going to fit on her too well. We'll make it work. So come when you're called. Again, a person who's blind does not want to go all over their house looking for their dog to put their harness on. But most of the time, one of the things that makes a really, really good leader dog is the desire to work. So most of the time, all they have to do is hear that little jingle of that harness, sort of like Jasmine, and they're up and ready to go. So now I have my dog in harness, and in those 4 months, the instructor starts teaching them from very basic things like right and left to more and more complex things. Let's see what Jasmine remembers. Jasmine, forward. Jasmine, left, left, left. Oops.
Right.
I gave the wrong signal. Jasmine, forward, left, left. Okay, now let's try over right. Jasmine, right, right, right. Girl, girl. And let's go over here. Let's go. Okay. So if I was blind, I'd have to know where the chairs are or bump into them, walk them around. But with a leader dog, she's going to take me anywhere around, and I don't even have to know that there are obstacles. A cane is an obstacle finder. A leader dog is an obstacle avoider. So if I came in here blind and I had a cane, I would have had to really concentrate how many times, where was I sitting, where did I stand, where was the door? Or when I got done, I would have to ask somebody, where is the door? I'd have to hang on to somebody to show them. Or if I have a leader dog, let's see if she can do this. Jasmine, find the door. Where's the door? Oh. Where's the door? Good job. Good dog. Very good job. Now, she passed a couple of other doors. There's a door in the back, and she could have seen those, but she's trained to take the person back to the door they came in. Because if I was dropped off out here and my dog took me back out that door, I would be very confused. I wouldn't know where I was. I'd be standing there waiting for my ride or whatever. So having the dog take me to the certain door. Now, if we were here all the time, I could teach her front door, back door, things like that. She'd get patterned. But most of the time, she's going to take me there. The other thing is if any of us get up, go to the restroom, and come back, we know where our chair was because we were sitting next to so-and-so and we were on the third table in or something like that. But for someone who's blind, they're going to have to hang on to somebody or ask for help just to find the chair that they have in the room. Or, Jasmine, find the chair. Find a chair. Sometimes she'll go to the chair, sometimes she'll come. Good girl. Good job. Good job. So when she is in harness, come on. Good job. Good girl. Long time no doing. When she's in harness, she knows she's working. She knows she has to follow the commands. And there are all kinds of commands that she will learn, up to and including crossing the street. Sometimes she'll shake a little. It's like taking your shoes off. Out of harness. Jasmine, sit. Down. Good job. Good job. So in harness, I'm working. I have to focus. So that's one of the reasons we ask you when a dog is in harness, please don't pet the dog, don't call its name, don't offer it food, because it needs to really concentrate on its person. And if it knows that, especially golden retrievers, they know they're beautiful, they love to come into a room and have everyone notice they're beautiful, and if they learned, even in harness, that they could zigzag around and go to people wherever, it would be really confusing and very distracting for the person. Now there is a command that they're taught to find a person. So if I'm grocery shopping and I have my leader dog with me and I'm blind and I don't quite know, I can't tell, I know I'm in the cereal aisle, but I can't tell the Honey Nut Cheerios from, because they all feel the same, and the cornflakes, I can say to my dog, find a person. And they'll take me usually to an adult. Most people are willing to help, and I can ask the adult, can you give me the Cheerios? Now, if I want to buy cornflakes and Cheerios, what I might do is put the rubber band on the, bring a rubber band out of my pocket, put a rubber band on the Cheerios, and then I just have to remember when we get home that I put the rubber band on the Cheerios and the cornflakes don't have a rubber band on. Or as my friend says, who happens to be blind, and sometimes I'm just surprised. It's what you do. You know, but I can do it independently. And I can do it for myself, and I don't have to wait, which is a big part of it. So that's why we say, or you'll often see a sign that says, please don't pet me, I'm working. It's because truly they are. There are a whole bunch of commands. It takes about 4 months of a leader dog working every day with its instructor. Now we talked about those 55 dogs that were born. They go out for a year. They come back in. Usually about 11 dogs a week are returned from their puppy raisers. They go through another huge medical thing with the thing. And then they start working with an instructor. So at the beginning of their cycle, our instructors will have maybe 10 dogs each that they're working on. There's usually about 4 instructors on a team. So they'll have 40, 50 dogs that they're training for 4 months down the road. And we have one group that we're actually about halfway through class, so we'll have a new group of clients arrive on campus June 7th. So one group of instructors is finishing training those dogs in the next week and a half. They will actually be training dogs, so they've been working with those dogs for the last 4 months, and they get to know them really well. And what you're going to do is, here, you take my dog, you put the blindfold on, and you take it through its paces, make sure it can do everything. The instructor's going to sign off on that dog to say it's ready for class. The supervisor's going to sign off on that dog and say it's ready for class. We want to make sure. We used to kind of say, oh, close enough, the dog's still pretty young, it will grow into this job. Absolutely not. We're not going to match a dog that isn't already spot on. And so they will finish those dogs. Then the instructors will teach the people who are coming to campus in June how to use the dogs they just trained. And we are now working on letting them know, they know that those people have been accepted into our program. Probably last week or so, they got a call saying, we have a dog, maybe depending on, we have a dog ready for you in this class, making the travel arrangements, letting them know so they can make the arrangements. They're going to come to Leader Dog and stay for 26 days and learn how to use their dog. And those instructors that taught the dog the last several months are going to teach them to use this dog. They say it's the most rewarding part of their job. And then they teach people to use the dogs. At the end of their class, they're going to leave. They get a little extra time off, because when you're teaching during class, it's sort of like everybody being at camp and moving into the hotel. So we don't say, oh, everyone put your dogs away, it's 4:30, we're going home for the night. The instructors actually move into the residence too and stay, because you're teaching people to use a tool that they're going to use all the time. That when they're finished with their little bit of time off, they're going to come back, and all those puppies, the 11 puppies that have been returning every week for the last month, they're going to pick their new string of dogs. They're going to start with that big group, and they're going to start teaching it just to be comfortable in the harness. And in the first phase, that's what they're going to do. In the second phase, they're going to start taking it out more, doing things as simple as touching the curb. So they'll even start that first thing, and they'll stand next to, it's kind of a stairway thing. It's actually a grooming table, and it has like 3 steps, just like a little step stool would have. And I saw the instructor standing there, new dog in harness. And the dog was kind of looking around, sniffing around, and the dog put its paw on the step. Yes, handed a treat. And then the dog kind of looked at it and thought, wow, how do I get another treat? She sat. The instructor kind of ignored her. Pretty soon, paw on the step. Yes, another treat. She would work with that dog until the dog started realizing, I need to find the step. She said that's the beginning of not only showing the person how to go up and down steps and guiding a person on something as tricky as stairways, but also that incline that is a curb. Jasmine's heard me do this many, many times, so she's going to know. So if you can think about, of course, a leader dog helps cross the street. Actually, the person and the dog work together. The dog can't see a traffic light, doesn't know the difference between a traffic light. Plus, every street doesn't have, how many traffic lights do we have in Memphis? Every corner doesn't have one. So the person stops at the corner. The dog shows them where the curb is by putting their paw on it. The person can feel with their foot, I'm at the curb. The person has practiced standing perfectly straight and in the right angle with the dog. The dog also will help you walk straight. Where again, if you try to walk with blindfold on down this hallway, you're going to bump into the walls. It's just part of how we're oriented. Person listens for traffic. And when they hear traffic come to a stop here, or across the way, then they say forward to their dog. But they don't take a step yet. They wait, and when that dog takes the step, then they know. Because the dog's going to look both ways for cars. There might be a hybrid car. Hybrid cars turn off at the intersection so you don't hear them. It's a little tricky for someone who's blind. So there might be a hybrid car. There might be a car turning right on red. There might be left-hand turn green things. We literally teach our dogs to step in front of the person in a busy traffic. We drive cars in front of our dogs as part of the training in that 4 months. So that the person can be really confident, if my dog takes a step, it's okay for me to take a step. And that's something that sets leader dog a little bit apart, or in teaching a guide dog versus even a service animal. A lot of service animals are taught to help people in wheelchairs. They're taught to do a command: turn the lights on, pick up the phone, pick up the thing I dropped. So that's a great thing. It's amazing what you can teach dogs to do. But at leader dog, we have to teach a dog to make decisions. We want a dog that's thinking, like that dog that sat instead of putting its foot on. Because she says, I want this dog to be looking at the situation, thinking about what's going on, because just because the person said, go forward, the dog has to look around and say, no, we're not going forward because it's not safe. Or the person can say, let's go the same route we always go to the library, and maybe there's ice, or there's a crack in the sidewalk, or there's a manhole cover up. We need that dog to look and say, that's not going to be safe for my person. I need to go a little bit different around the way. My dog at home, who is not a leader dog, never ever is going to be a leader dog, she would work this room by going under the table. Simple things. It's what dogs do. A leader dog has to learn to look for overhead obstacles, tree branches, tables, anything that's going to be, so they have to start thinking in terms of, is their person safe? And if not, how do they need to adjust? So that that person can go at that quick pace all the way around. Leader dog does this totally free for the people. So remembering that it's a purebred or a crossbred dog out of our breeding, all its shots, all its vet care. There's hundreds and hundreds of them, so we don't, at that point, we do all the vet care. You know, it's not like, oh, if you're going to make it, then we'll suddenly go back and give you all your shots. All your vet care for all the dogs. All the dogs are spayed or neutered when they're sheep. The person comes from all over the world to leader dog and stays for 26 days. And then once you're a customer of ours, you're a customer for life. So if you get back home in 2 years from now, Jasmine won't cross your intersection. She's balking halfway through or something. You can call back to leader dog. More than likely your instructor still works for us, because some of our instructors have worked 25, 30 years for us. They remember you and your dog, and they can give you some advice on how to handle that. If we can't handle it and solve it over the phone, we have a team of 5 individuals. Actually, it's a little more than that, because we have contract people all over the world that we can call up and say, hey, would you go out to Memphis and would you work that intersection with so-and-so and find out what's going on with their dog? One woman I know has, she happens to have a golden retriever too, and she was walking home from work every evening, and all of a sudden the dog would get about halfway across the street at the intersection and would just kind of stop for a couple of seconds and then move forward, and she could not figure out what was going on. And then finally, when she called, the instructor said, I don't know if they ever came and worked it or if they figured this out on the phone, but they said, are you heading into the sunset? And she said yes, and there was a certain point where there was a reflection off of a building or something that was temporarily blinding her dog, and her dog was not going to take a step when it couldn't see, so it kind of had to shake it off. So then she started going, at that time of year, going down another block and crossing where the sun wasn't in their eyes. It's that kind of a partnership. It's a skill set that the person has to practice, that the dog has to practice. So it's not really magic, but the impact of what it does is magical. And the only way that we can do it at no charge to the person is with help from Lions Club. So you are our single biggest supporter, and you started us. I never know whether I should be a lion in this space or a leader dog person. You started us. Your partnership is so important to us. Your interest in this club, I know, consistently has supported us. We just couldn't do it without your help. And I think it also allows us to do some things that are a little bit different and still be, even though we've been around for 76 years, still be looking at what else can we do. A few years ago, we started introducing GPS devices. So they're special devices that are made for people who are blind that they can carry that will talk them and tell them what side of the street they're on, what street they're crossing. So now all of a sudden you can let your mind wander. Instead of having to count how many blocks, you can do that. Or if you get separated from your group, you're not quite, I mean, think of all the ways you use GPS. Same thing for people. In fact, I've traveled with people who are blind, and sometimes they have to pull up their GPS even in the car and help me get to where I'm going. You know, so there's that Leader Dogs introduced. There are certain skills with a white cane that you need to be able to know where you are, where you're going, how you're going to get to do. And so we not only do a dog now, but we also offer to people who maybe aren't even interested in a dog ways to enhance their white cane travel. And with a lot of the changes in government funding, those are classes, if you will, or opportunities that are getting harder and harder to find. So now a person can come to our campus and stay for a week and get 40 hours of one-on-one training with an orientation and mobility specialist in the white cane. So you can learn so much more in that week than with somebody coming to your home and working for 1 week and then 1 hour and then coming back 2 weeks later and working for another hour. Plus, we can make it really individual to what do you want to learn, what's in your environment that that you want to be able to navigate better. Is it stairways? Is it whatever? So about half the people that come, we served about 90 people in that program last year. We're just finishing up our lines here too, so we're going to probably be close to that again this year. Those people just come for a week. So that, and then we also have a camp for kids that's a lot like Bear Lake. In fact, they go up to Bear Lake, so they stay at our residence for a week. That's coming up at the end of June. We take a day and go over to Bear Lake and do some of the cool stuff that's at Bear Lake, climb the wall, you know, fish, whatever, do the challenge course. But our camp weaves through it, for kids who are blind, a leadership curriculum. A lot of times kids who are blind are kind of overlooked for leadership roles or leadership opportunities, and it's something that we've really done and we really enhance that ability to be independent on your own. Every year they always make a list of things that were first at the camp. Everything from, these kids are 16 and 17 years old, kids who tied their shoes for the first time by themselves, to kids that flew on the airplane for the first time, plus fishing, plus bike riding, plus whatever we can do. So that's all the kinds of things that you help us do. One of the things on your table is we are doing an upgrade. So if you've been coming years and years to Big D Night, you knew we didn't come this year because we're under construction. So the little picture, the one-page sheet that's there, the little picture at the top, that is actually what our kennel looks like now, only it has a red roof because they haven't put the green roof on. We had one of our donors call up and say, that looks like a red roof. We are upgrading that kennel. So much happens in our kennel, and so much of that was built in the 1960s. It does not have air conditioning, and remember, we steam clean places every day. The cages were small. We're upgrading to bigger cages, so there's all kinds of things that we're doing there. We're really looking for additional help to raise well, from Lions about $3 million to help make that project go. So we've already started. We had to get started on it because we didn't want to just stop everything and not give away dogs this year. So we're doing it in phases so that we can still be able to give out 200 dogs a year. So it's going to take us, instead of taking us about 10 months, it's going to take us about 2 years to do all the construction project. So I'd like to invite you to consider also making an investment in that project and helping us with that. We'll take pledges over the next couple of years or whatever you guys might want to talk about for that. Any questions about Leader Dog and what we do? Yes, Bruce?
Can you explain to them about the career change?
Yes.
That's a fun thing.
So I've mentioned a couple of times, not every dog can quite make it as a leader dog, just like, you know, I'm not an engineer, there's no way I could have been an engineer, things like that. So about half our dogs don't make it as leader dogs. They're still great dogs. So the first thing we do is look around for other service opportunities. So maybe Paws with the Cause is maybe the dog can, you know, I don't know, pick up things better, or has an allergy, that happens a lot, has an allergy that you have to be able to see it to be able to treat it, and then it's not a big deal. So we'll trade dogs with Paws with the Cause. Some of our dogs that are scent distracted, no matter what, they got to follow that squirrel scent or whatever. They make great search and rescue dogs, or even for customs or whatever, so we'll trade that. We have started a program in courthouses. So someone who works in the courthouse will take care of the dog and adopt the dog, but we can train that dog to work as a therapy dog, if you will, in the courthouse. So if someone has to tell a difficult story, recount a difficult event in their life, a traumatic event in their life, sometimes it's easier to tell it to the dog. Or maybe somebody has to face a perpetrator or something, and they have to be on the witness stand. They feel a little better if they got this dog with them. And so we've done some canine companions through the court system. We place dogs in others. And then there's a whole bunch of dogs who don't really want to work, don't like being out in the rain, or like to chase squirrels. And those dogs we just make available for adoption. Usually if you raised it as a puppy, you were the puppy raiser, you get first chance to adopt. And then we also open it up to the public. We used to just have this long list. You could go to our website and you could register for one of our, we call them career change dogs, because they're not flunk outs. They're just, they need a different career. So you could register to adopt one of our career change lists, but that list was like 2 and 3 years long, so usually by the time we called somebody when their name came up. So now they open it up for a few months, they do an orientation, we adopt out those dogs, then we open it up. So I think it's closed right now. You might want to look in August or September on our website, leaderdog.org, if you're interested in that kind of, in adopt a dog.
How many facilities are there?
There's just one, great question, there's just one leader dog for the blind in the entire world. So if you go anywhere and you see on that harness, leader dog, you know that person and that dog came through Rochester, Michigan. But there are several guide dog schools in the United States. One is called the Seeing Eye. There's some, and that's on the East Coast. There's also one on the West Coast called Guiding Eyes or something like that. So the generic term is guide dog, small g, small d. The brand, if you will, is leader dog. So it's sort of like deciding whether you want to go to Michigan State or U of M. And the person picks a school that has a philosophy that they like, maybe a campus they like, maybe a location they like, offers the GPS that you think will accept you. Leader Dog kind of has a reputation for accepting people a little older. And then you apply. And then you're accepted into the program, and then typically people return. We have a high client satisfaction.
They bring them in from other countries too?
Yes, we do. So we just had some clients here from Spain, Mexico, Taiwan. We've actually placed leader dogs in about 35 different countries.
So you don't give them to children, you give them to?
16 is about the youngest, partly for a couple of reasons. That you have to really be able to take care of your own dog. That's an important part of bonding. And most, also the environment where the dog works. So some high schools, it's really, really a tough environment for the dog to work because people think it's cute to still give it. It doesn't matter if they give it food or whatever. So, so 16 we've done. Most people come at the end of high school and going on to college. So we'll have a lot this summer for new clients. But also some people lose their sight in their 70s, 80s, 90s. So you might get your first dog. There'll be, in the June 7th class, there'll be people coming. I know one woman's coming back for her 9th dog. She's had dogs for over 50 years. And I also know there will be brand new people in that class. And so it's sort of a lifestyle. They say once you stop using the cane and have a dog, you want to move at that pace, you want that lifestyle, so they really count on Meter Dog to be here for forever. And that's part of what you help us be able to do too. Yes?
How do you get people who come from all over the world, how do you deal with the language barrier and training?
So they bring their own interpreters, and they learn, at first, they have to learn the basic commands, and it's sit, stay, come, forward in English, but usually by the time they go home, they start transferring over. The dog kind of looks at it from context too, so finding the door, finding the curb, even if you say that in a different language, they're going to learn. So not only are they learning a new skill, but they're often learning a new skill through interpreter. And right now in class, we also do dogs for people who are both deaf and blind. So we currently on our campus, the first time we've done an exclusive client, we have 5 or 6 clients who are both deaf and blind, so they are like Helen Keller. Some of them have a little bit of vision, so we might be doing sign language right in front of their face. Some of them are learning tactile sign language, and their dog has been trained to respond to nudges, bumps, so because many people don't have speech, also rewarded with pats, hits, whatever, and we can make it work. We're also starting to train some of those dogs to respond to like the doorbell and a few other things, kind of dual training them a little bit. Whatever we can do to make them be more, not make them, to give them the opportunity to be more independent.
Now when your dog goes up a curb, how does it let the other person go up the curb? Can you feel it in the harness?
They feel the harness go up. They feel very subtle changes in the harness, and that's what they do.
Ahead of the person?
Yeah, the person's legs are right about at the shoulder of the person, so that's a lot of what they practice. There's a lot of bonding that goes on, and also, so that group will come in on Sunday the 7th. The first couple of days, the instructor will pretend like they're the dog, and the person will just start feeling and learning the commands. And on Tuesday afternoon, they will meet their leader dog. So Tuesday the 9th, you can think of a whole new group of people meeting their leader dog. And then they'll stay for that next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yes.
Some dogs just not mix with a particular person, but might be fine paired with someone else?
Yep. So there's a lot we have learned over the 76 years of how to match people with dogs. So they also will always have more dogs ready for that group. So we might have 20 people coming in on June 7th. We'll probably have 25 or 30 dogs ready. We're pretty sure we know who's going to be matched with who, but sometimes when somebody gets on campus and we get to know them a little bit differently, we think, maybe this dog's a better pace for them. Some dogs can blend. Once in a while we have to change out, but I guess I should say another thing too. Our instructors, they're paid, it's a paid position, but it's actually, it takes 3 years to go from an apprentice instructor to work your way up the level to being a guide dog mobility, a certified guide dog mobility instructor. So we can't unfortunately go to Michigan State and get a degree in guide dog. So we teach people how to do that. And a big part of it is, we can teach almost anybody to train dogs, but a big part of it is how to teach different people to learn the skill. So we're always looking at how to increase our educational skills so that we can personalize that and make it individual to yours. Yes?
Rochester's the only school in the worldwide, really?
No, there's many schools that give to guide dogs. There's only one leader dog for the blind. So there are 10 different
generic ones.
Different generic
I
ones.
caught that, but I'm just amazed, as big as Lions International is worldwide,
Yes.
that there aren't other campuses in like Chicago, Milwaukee. I mean, because maybe it's just Hollywood. I've seen movies where they have guide
Right.
dogs.
There are other campuses. We're one of the oldest and largest. And Lions support other organizations, so they would support the Seeing Eye, they would support Southeastern, there's one in Florida, they would support the California schools, there's a big one in Texas. But we're Leader Dog is the only one that Lions started and have maintained all
That
the way
was
through.
1937?
Yeah, 39. 38 or 9, depends whether you count when we were chartered, when we graduated our first class, or when we became chartered. So you know, again, they support, and there's so many people who are blind, and so many of us that it's good that there's that many of us. It's just, you should be really proud of the one we started, you started, and also I think there is being built on that tradition. For example, our advisory board, so our board of directors, we must maintain, it's part of our charter, to have at least 50% of our board of directors are Lions also. That partnership is.
Has anybody ever done a study on, like, from the very beginning till you pass the dog over? That's including the vet, the housing, food, cost. Did anybody ever do a study on how much it is to raise one dog?
To support the life of the dog, because that includes that aftercare I was talking about, we figure it's around $35,000 for one team. But that also, part of that you have to work in is the cost for all the dogs that don't make it, and for bringing the person here. Yeah. And you might sound like a lot for a dog, but then you figure that dog typically works 8 years. So you're, you know, I don't have a car that costs that much that work that long.
Do you take her home?
She happens to be, she's kind of a demo PR dog, ambassador, so she lives with one of my coworkers.
How old is Jasmine?
Jasmine's about 8.5 now, so she's been well through the program.
Kathleen,
Yes,
what happens with the dog that, just like that?
retires, okay. So my friend that's coming back into class that's had the dog since, for over 50 years, her dog, she contacted her, she was in touch with her dog's puppy raiser. So Gundy worked for her for 7 years. And now he's retiring, he can't keep up with her, he's getting very sensitive to sounds and things like that. He's going to go back and live with the puppy raiser that had him 7 or 8 years ago. Or you can give it to a family member, or some people keep their dogs. It's a little bit of a dance to have the retired dog retire and then start taking another dog in and out, but some people do that. So it pretty much belongs to the person, and then they determine what they do. It's a big decision to retire your dog and to start all over again with a new dog. One other thing I forgot to tell you about, and it's pretty cool because it's actually happening right now in the Macomb County Prison too. We have 450, we need 450 people to raise puppies for us every year, and that changes every day. People bring back their puppies and pick up their other puppies. So we started about 10 years ago placing puppies with people who are incarcerated in prisons. Started in Iowa, And what we found was they could create this incredibly consistent puppy that was raised. They had nothing else to do all day long but raise puppies for us. Plus, they started learning a skill. It was an earned privilege in the prison. Having puppies in a prison changed the tough and rough demeanor of the prison. So the prison started getting really around this. We were up to about 90 dogs being raised every year in the Iowa prisons, and about 1.5 years ago we expanded. We are now in, I think, about 15 different prisons, 3 in the UP, and we just started puppies in the, whatever it is, Macomb County, which is on 26 Mile, right off by 94 there. We just placed, I think they have 3 or 4 puppies there. So the inmate applies for the privilege of raising a puppy. We have volunteers on the, individuals on the inside, that it's part of their certification program. And then we have a volunteer team member now that also provides the support, so exactly how to do it and consistently. And I think we're in about 5 or 6 different Michigan prisons too. And it's a win-win. We have some great video. We won an award about 1 year ago on the impact of that. Average people who go to prison, I believe it's about 50% of them return again even after they've served their time. Individuals that have been involved in this program, it's only like 10% have ever returned. It's a huge difference.
What do they feed the dog?
We feed the dog.
Prison food.
Yeah, not prison food. They actually, we use a certain kind of dog food for our dogs. It happens to be made by Purina. It's a really good dog food to grow our dogs. We need a dog that's really fit. Jasmine's a little fluffier than she should be, and that could walk, can do a lot of walking. So we have a partnership with Purina that they provide the food for our prisons and for our kennel. And then the other thing that's an advantage to having Purina is available worldwide.
Right.
So the people who return to Spain can still find that exact same kind of dog food. Because the last thing you want to do is change your dog's diet right before you go back to work. Yes?
You were explaining to me about some dogs who, like for companion dogs in care facilities.
Right.
So how does that work? Are those the dogs that just don't get paired with
Yep,
somebody?
yep. So they're
the
career change. So when we career change a dog, we know why it didn't make it. Was it, you know, if it's aggressive with children, we wouldn't put it in that kind of a setting. But whatever it is, sometimes they're afraid of traffic. You want them to be afraid enough not to step out into traffic, but you also want them to be not hesitant to cross streets. You know, sometimes they walk too fast. Sometimes there's also, it cracks me up because every once in a while I'll see a career change come through for work ethic. There is the dog that's like, nah, I'm staying in. It's cold out. It's raining out.
That's a smart dog.
Not today. Yeah.
From Michigan.
Yeah. Then they need to be a pet. Yeah. Wasn't raised. Yes.
I have a friend who was in the volunteering when the puppy first started. And supposedly he was supposed to take these puppies out into traffic and with other people, get the dog to know what was going on. But then he ran into a problem where certain restaurants did not know that the dog was a leader dog, or he even had a little scarf around the neck for everybody. He ended up having some kind of list that he brought to the restaurant so that those people, I was always under the impression there's some kind of state law which says that the dog can go into restaurants that normally dogs don't go into.
It's a federal law, the Americans with Disability Act, that says a trained guide dog you must allow a dog to come in. You cannot charge them extra. You cannot ask them to move or leave. You have to serve them. But in Michigan, that law does not encompass a dog in training. So the establishment person does have the right to deny a puppy or a dog in training. Most don't once they understand it because it's the politically correct thing to do right now, or it's the best thing to do. So what we often do is we just don't return to that establishment again. However, there's always a caveat. If that dog isn't groomed, even if it's a service dog, if it's not well groomed and not well behaved, then it can be asked to leave. But if you walk in and they're like, no, you can't have that dog. And it's really getting to be a problem because so many people are passing their dogs off as service dogs or therapy dogs or whatever. And you'd think it'd almost be the opposite as more people take their pets places, but it's kind of made it difficult for people who truly have. And those dogs aren't always well behaved. I mean, part of why we want them to go to the restaurants when they're a puppy is so that they do this. You know, they've been there, done that, it's no big deal. So it's really important that they have that opportunity. But and most people will once they're explained, but you gotta also have your dog under control and be the best example.
Is there some sort of license or documentation I've seen attached to, like, on the side of some dogs?
So the harness for our dog is the clue. They also get an ID badge, and our dogs have a tag. So the puppies even they get a number right now that is a leader dog tag. They're also microchipped as a leader dog. So when you retire a dog, we ask you to send back the harness because we don't want them out there. In fact, I have to, yeah. So there's lots of vests and things you can go online and you can buy. It's really kind of a problem that we're trying to make the public educated about, that you can ask. Yeah.
Like a car registration,
Yep.
but
And a lot of times on airplanes, because our dogs can ride in the people part of the airplane, in fact, the person needs them to be there. So some airlines can ask for that identification. We've actually started training at Detroit Metro Airport, so the dogs all go through getting through the security. There's certain things that the dogs have to pass going through security on the plane, understanding. At Leader Dog, when you're waiting your turn to work with your instructor, there's 3 rows of airline seats, so you can practice getting your dog in, and there's how much room there is not for our feet. You try putting a German Shepherd in there too, but it works.
Years ago, I used to work a lot in downtown Detroit, and I used to see the leader dogs a lot in downtown Detroit. Is that a better environment to train them?
It's a high level. It's a big city. So we want our people, when they leave, to know what it's like to walk out here where there aren't sidewalks, and also what it's like to work in the city. Because if you've already worked in all those environments, then you'll have the confidence to go out into those environments and to work wherever your job takes you or wherever your family takes you.
Like to the ballpark or something.
Yeah, right. Because you want it, that's the whole point usually in making the commitment to learn to have a leader dog, is because you don't want to be at home. I'm taking up a lot more time than I wanted to, but I'm always happy to answer more questions.
I think we need to take a little break for refreshments.
Okay. Well, thank you for your attention. One final quick story. I have one of our board members is Debbie Dayton. She happens to be a lion in A1, and 11A1, and she was telling me one day actually she spoke at Big D night if you happen to be there this time, up in the pier. She was telling me about all the things she's done as a lion and in her life as a leadership. And she said, well, that's because I have a leader dog. And I said, Debbie, give me a break. You are who you are. Your skills have nothing to do with the fact that you have a dog. And she goes, yeah, but if I didn't have a dog, I would be at home on my couch not doing anything. And so, you know, yes, it is about safety, and we're all about giving people, but it's also about giving people that opportunity to be out and just think of the ripple effect of what you do. So thank you for your attention today. Thank you. Jasmine's not in harness, so you can pet her if you would like.
Thank you.
You know, it's hard to, it's nice to, sometimes you don't get like 10 minutes, so it's really nice to know.
Isaac, did you pet her?
It just is a really, there's so many layers to it. Yeah, you get it.
She liked that, would like She would like another tree.
Yes, that's what she said. It's like, oh, wait a minute.
Could be somebody you're working from home.
I gotta go to bed right now. On the line.
Just
It's a natural.
Well, she had a cold.
this time of year too. Though they have a household she lives in, they have her as a golden and they have a lab too. And they have like a lab.
Oh, they do, I had dogs. And I found that after 2 years after she was gone, I was still find it. I'm sure they can brush her smell.
And that's one of the reasons we use Golden's and labs, is because we don't know where they're going to go. So if they go to North Dakota, they use them here and build them and thicker. And if they go to Mexico, where it's warm all the time, they can shed that hair. So we need a dog that's cool. Yeah, that's why she gets bored. She loves the water. You did. They have, that's why they have to kind of bring it up because in the summer she gets pretty, stinky. And actually, we have started to do some classes. We learn about the temperaments. And some of the temperaments, the lab, but the lab has a much easier So we've done some lab golden process to try to
No, the dog would go after my son.
but some people like to grab it. Different personalities.
I think even if they're one,
So every dog has all.
I think they're very nice to dogs as well. The dog,
Yeah. They lab them.
I don't want the dog.
They are really,
The dog.
very, very well. They are well.
Oh,
They will do anything, and everything's great for training, but it's not something for the bad. The article is all over the table or whatever, it's hard to read. But I thought Goldens were very like London. Like if they don't want to, or they play a game, well.
well, see, they're really smart.
Until they're all of them.
Yeah, they're very smart, so.
I don't go up those steps.
I had one golden that was other than
Put my hand in blindly to see what was in there. Like, oh, did I leave my
They're much more anxious in the new situation, but when she's come in and settled down, then she's great. And she also can let 500 kids in the school assembly each pet around right out the door, and she will never get tired of that. Where I've seen some dogs that get real sick, they don't even touch so much. Just we used to use poodles and train a poodle, and they're very good at, they're smart, and they're very good at doing the work. They just, we don't train them anymore because they require more maintenance, they require that. So the best part is they can check, but it also means they have to get airplanes all the time. So a lot of our clients are on like a fixed income, so, and we don't have the breeding stock in the pool, so we moved away. We used to take donated dogs, so we used to do rescue dogs from the shelter and things like that. But there were so many that didn't make it that we decided to go with our own, exclusively with our own breeding, just because we know that help is free and free for size. We know that they're the best.
You said you
Yes.
Yeah, really good dog. Oh, he put
So we when they're with the puppy raising, and they come back and we'll spay her. She'll select if she wants to pick pictures together, and then we'll select that everybody else is spayed or neutered, and then we take some they're in training for 4 months.
It's not across.
We don't teach them to attack. It happens, I should say, because they're so close and they're such a bond. And they know, so, but more often you need your dog to be really friendly and really, so we want a friendly looking dog, we want a dog that's comfortable in social environments. But I will say, I've heard many stories where the dog has kind of alerted them to the dog will move closer to them, or the dog will move between them and the other. Some people like a dog that looks, bigger and bad, yeah, the German Shepherds, tend to see. Somewhat, I know a story of a guy who got knocked down, he sort of lost the heat, and got knocked down, and he told his wife to stay, and so he did stay until everything passed over. Yeah, they're vulnerable, people do know, particularly people that watch. But it's sort of like all of us. They don't mail nothing anymore. There are more people who are than that. I think we'll bark. I've seen it. They're trying not to bark, but there's a certain
couple things I have from booth. I have a bar.
that you would born right. Same thing like bigger. Right, and they're usually off. So if you they're dog and they want to know, and I've seen them bark and play when I come into the house, in their own backyards.
I can't understand.
Close Kathy.
Yeah.
We want this guy to be responsible. Get the job.
Nice job.
I didn't even one thing to pass over. I'll put you in touch with. Might be, I wouldn't be surprised.
Better than it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes, they can.
Yeah, that's just.
What we want to do too is we want to give.
That's a lot.
The best thing to do is my email's on there, so just remind me that we met here and that you got that. And I can
You got it.
So I get to work. I do. I get to work with Lions groups.
Oh, yeah.
So they're really cool people. I'm like, yeah.
She's watching you, Norbert.
No, I live.
Yeah, I've been over there a couple of times. It's been a long time.
So I'm in Elginak, there's a women's group, Lions group. The men never train. We were a Lioness club and they every day. Yeah.
Are they playing cards? Yeah. They do that a lot when they're playing.
I think there's a lot of different things too. I think some of it is just how everybody works together. Different traditions. See where the tradition.
Yeah. My answer is, I'm not sure what Frank said, but.
Oh, where?
Oh, yeah, okay.
A lot of times.
I know.
Very passionate.
I didn't know that.
It gets feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It works out.
I was thinking that would be
I have more reading.
We've done different research. We also do a lot of research so we don't just keep reading the same lines. We focus on different things. So right now, I believe that the female is bred. I think we're trying to do every cycle.
Oh, you did? Yes. Now I know.
Twice a year.
How many cards? How many you got here, boy? They told you what they check out the player. You thought we donate them out. $35
But then if you do
I got it.
twice a year.
So it's not hard to win again. You don't want to know? Remember?
Grab a cookie out, put the finger in
There's seeds.
I got out of work and I had to go grab them.
That's what I want to know.
Here, so we're starving.
This is what teacher.
They're, they are, no, but it's because it's one of the things that is they don't live in, they stay in
Oh, what did he do right about us? Like, I appreciate that.
So the dogs
I'm not sure how much genetically modified
He's all about personality.
they could be babies, yeah, but they're red. Usually when they're babies, they're different. So I don't know. I have no idea. I've never bought the little ones.
You guys really made an open door where you should be able to do away with anything because it's going to do anything. And that should be the mentality. Things I do that good people aren't going to do that, but
so we are and we have the instructors trained, but we also have
Really are. I just found out they are.
should be.
And I kind of and I thought they were. Right. I talked to them a couple weeks ago. He asked me where they were, and I said, I thought they were like,
so we
brought them in the building.
just learned how to hear
No, maybe.
I talked to one person, yeah.
Community know about, yeah.
Well, that's what it
it's a fine.
No, at the end of the year, or at the end of the season, we brought all of our.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
But that's here. No. But we also have
That was, so what I'm trying to figure out.
Please do take it. That'd be great if they started some show, just somebody, Jesus, take it time all this.
Right, because I know we brought him in, and I remember saying, Bobby, yeah.
They know I'm not.
Well, as a statewide team chairman, several people are pointed out to me that did a lot of work. Mine Charlie here has got bad knees, you know, he's got a spring chicken, and as hard as it is for him to walk, he was still out there for a few hours collecting money for leader dogs. And I'd like to present this to you and let you know that we appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Ed, who you talking?
Yeah.
Ted spent all day out there, day after day. I'd like to recognize you.
We're insurance guy.
I really appreciate all the time you put in, and all the money you collected. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Look this way.
$1 an hour.
What are you clapping for now?
Leader dog.
Okay, now you want pictures.
I would like to stand there, but I can't.
We got all the pictures I took of the new members and the sponsors last week, last meeting. I lost them all, so we got to retake them.
They're all there.
Everybody's sweet.
Everybody's here, so we can redo the pictures.
We even got the sponsors for Ken. He's here.
Debbie, you met.
Take this table over here.
I want to stand.
Bill? Here you go, Bruce.
I don't know how to say it.
Bill?
Come on, Bill. Frank.
So Frank, come over here. I'm not walking over here. Hey, Frank can get me a picture later. When I get up, I'm not getting up.
You're just telling me you're tired.
Take the picture.
Why not?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I love that, but it's kind of, no, it's kind of for you.
What do you think? But hey,
I should be
sure. Sure, have at it.
I'm going to eat, depending on what kind of
Almost like, come back, you have some comment with
I'll put plums over
I
there.
love them too.
There you go, you're with the 24/7. But there are times you have to go through that at a certain, until school's over.
No.
No, it's probably not. I think most of them came to the party. They were almost, and I said, so we're scheduled. They're like, hey, she get it, sorry.
Bill,
Yeah.
come on up here, Bill.
No, I gotta sit with my.
Well, that's why they got
I think it's
stopped.
bothering me.
Because of the, oh, okay. Yeah, oh.
We'll do them over here.
Oh, because you talked to Jennifer, she just told me, oh, the bus is not gonna make it back in time. So she never really gave me.
Taking the
I didn't know.
Bruce is.
There we are.
The two ladies said, all right.
You lost your picture tape.
Jerry got there. She goes, we're not. Okay.
Where you going?
Oh, you're in there too?
No, I was Rick's sponsor.
Where's
Rick
Rick
was
at?
my sponsor.
Yeah.
You're supposed to
At least
be
you
the
have
inductor.
Yeah, I mean, so you ended up with a good.
His cigarette. Oh, no, he's over there.
Yeah, take that off, Frank. Why?
Yeah, because at first there was nobody.
He's the conductor. He made you swear.
He swore you in.
No, you clear.
Damn it.
Get in
No,
there, Debbie.
that's not my group.
Yeah, it is. Come here.
No.
But these people plan on being on the whole day, thinking they're going out there, so I would have canceled it.
We're good. We're good.
They're all here.
Hey, hey,
Everyone
Steph,
in
you were
this
my
room.
sponsor.
Everyone in
Why
this
didn't you
room.
give your picture? Yeah, I didn't get. What is it, Dusty? Oh, okay.
That's my son's birthday, the second, right? Or the third, what day is it at? So it's on Wednesdays?
Is the meeting over?
His birthday is Tuesday.
Almost.
Although he works nights anyhow, so it's not like he's gonna be home when I'm there.
Yeah, we're gonna have a birthday party back in the park.
In case we have to cancel, I keep their numbers.
I won't be here for my birthday.
Where are you gonna be?
Or here on post,
Yeah.
would appreciate your presence at the Angry Bull Restaurant on June the 2nd for an informal celebration of their 95th anniversary. Dinner and drinks from the menu.
You know what, I thought there was more
6
cooking.
p.m. to 8 p.m. And then there'll be cake
I bet
and
you dropped it on the floor.
everything else. So that's for your house for celebrating their 95th anniversary.
You gave him
Also, I got a letter here from Bear Lake Camp. It says, Dear Lions, on behalf of Bear Lake Camp, we would like to thank you for your recent gift of $500, which will enable us to provide exceptional recreational and educational experiences for children with special needs. Your partnership, well, we can give the same one, I think, to
It's a good place.
Leader Dog. Your partnership helps us to serve children who are blind, visually impaired, and it continues a tradition of over 30 years. Bear Lake Camp services are freely offered to families with visually impaired children who enjoy a safe, wholesome, and uplifting summer camp experience that teaches them to live more independently and productively. Lions Bear Lake Camp served 552 campers in 2014. This group included children who are blind, visually impaired, deaf and hard of hearing, and others, juvenile arthritis, autism, and grieving issues. Bear Lake Camp remains a magical place for children because of generous contributions from our friends and benefactors. Thank you again for being a very special friend. Sincerely, Christina Wills, the office manager up there. So that goes along with what Kathleen Breen just was talking about with taking the kids up there with the Lear Dog. They appreciate it, and we will continue to support them for many, many years to come. Do we have any old news or new news before we...
Yeah, that young lady that Ron, you reported on, Pat and Terry Bowerman already got a hold of Dennis Tompkins of Bear Lake, and they're going to take the lead on that, and they're going to support her all the way.
Oh, that's great.
And they're getting a hold of the young girl's mother. So.
Oh, fantastic. That's what we talked about at our last meeting?
Right.
Very good. Glad to hear it. All right. If that's all we have, we'll adjourn the meeting.